Amy Glynn is a poet and essayist whose work appears widely in journals and anthologies, including the best American poetry. She has been a James Merrill House Fellow, was the inaugural recipient of Poetry Northwest's Carolyn Kaiser Award, and won the 2014 Literal Latte Essay Award. She also makes a pretty good, actually literal latte. Her collection, A Modern Herbal, was published by Measure Press. She lives, as Alex said, in the San Francisco Bay Area. I met Amy about 4 years ago while studying abroad at the UW Creative Writing Study Abroad Creative, I already said that, program with Richard Kenny, and Amy came as a guest speaker. She gave her lecture. We were all like, who's this lady? But then after lecture, we all went up to her like, you're a genius! Who are you? You're really cool. If I ever have any questions about plants, or wine, or Greek or Roman history, or words and their etymology, or John Cusack, Amy has the answer.
Call me a troll. Inappropriately.
Once, this is an embarrassing story, I painted a portrait of Amy because I was so impressed by her, and then mailed it to her. It got worse and worse actually with each paint edition. I was trying to fix her face. At one point she looked like a ghastly skeleton, and it ended up kind of being pale. And I was like, okay, the more I do this, the worse it's gonna get. So I just sent it to her. So if you have thrown it away or something, please don't tell me what you've done with it or where you're hiding it. So that's please welcome Amy.
And I am pale. What are you supposed to do? So that Rome program, I don't know how many people in this room are Richard Kenny acolytes, but I know there's a handful of them up here. I'm one. And when I found out that that's who I was going to be guest lecturing in front of, I was scared out of my mind. I couldn't think of one single person on this planet that I would less want to look like an asshat in front of. But the other person who was running the program invited me and said, well, you're kind of like a natural history geek, right? So just, I don't know, do something about poetry and natural history. Just start with Pliny the Elder and go from there. And I was like, what? Well, you know Pliny, right? Well, yeah, of course I know Pliny, Kevin. It's the go from there that's 20. How long do I have to do 20 centuries of Western civilization? It's 45 minutes to allow for questions. I said, oh, okay. It worked out okay, right?
Yes.
Everyone needed Dramamine afterward, but it was all right. So, I am a botanical softcore pornographer, basically. And I'm going to read a little bit from this book, and maybe if I don't overstay my welcome, I'll read a couple things from my forthcoming thing. But this, as you can see, it's got sexy botanical illustrations that I picked up in Rome in print shops, and it's very fancy. Measure Press is awesome. They do a great job, and they have a clutch of authors who are well worth your time, so check them out. But we'll start. These are all totally just about plants. I'm going to start with this specimen right here, this peach. For you, sweet thing, only the orchard's great voluptuary, sugar as a heat mirage, the August sun dripping over the lip of the world, brazen, annealed. For you, love, nothing but the incarnation of hedonistic languor, sun-hot flesh so ripe it barely holds itself together, a radiant acidity arrayed around a corrugated shell enclosing something like an almond. What can I tell you, darling? Nothing changes. Break its skin and you will always have the same swift hit to the amygdala. Each molecule of scent is, for you, my own, a recapitulation of an original experience that grows association like a root time only deepens. And was anything ever more glorious than this expression of long-term potentiation, of something that comes back and each time bigger, more potent, all the gaudy rush of nectar down your throat, the honeyed light, and all of it only for you, sweetheart, and for no other reason than to show how pleasure too can concentrate with time. There is the blonde down on her forearm. There is the drunken, swooning heat that grew between your voices every time you thought of the last time or the next. There is the way that every word branched and seemed to set its own fruit, an abundance that could break itself. It's all exquisitely preserved, the way that staggering lushness consumed you even as it was consumed. The peach tree has a message for you, dear, and it's this. Your memories, your gut reactions, your addictions, your conditioned fears and pleasures, the ability to be transported by a hint of perfume, these things are forever love. They are immortal even if you are not. How elegant design is that it does this. You're reduced to nothing, finally, but all the work it took to bring you there stays put. And there's a thing deep in the limbic brain that says so, wordlessly collating what you feel so you can learn from it. And it is shaped just like the kernel of the peach. For you then, love, the fruit of complicated generosities, of things perfected by anticipation, by recollection, fruit of infinite seduction, fruit of liquid flame, fruit of the velvet glove and the sucker punch, fruit of, oh God, yes, of pheromones, of heat, of incipient bruises, of overdoing it, of being unable to even want to stop.
Yes, ma'am. Alright, so I don't know how many witches are in the audience, but so this would be familiar. This is a roadside weed that happens to have a lot of medicinal applications for female issues, which is fun. This is Evening Primrose. Early adopter, familiar of vespertine temporal specialists, itinerants. Who said your life would be easy? Chance encounters, chancy neighborhoods, the lean ground nothing cultivated will possess. But you, night bloomer, all strings of dubious X's, loose ends, unabashedly seedy. You need no excuse. This is simply what you do. Daze them with perfume, bombshell, daylight's gaudy attractants are nothing to you. Instead, take moonlight to the next level, take the dunes, parking strips, waste ground that, for the right body, well, presents the perfect opportunity. Herb of the X chromosome, you know stigma. You don't care. Wherever the ground's disturbed, you're there, brash, sticky with longing, a complex, quadruply branching ripple effect array of balanced lethal genes and a flair for risk. You know why you were here. Let no one say otherwise. Heterotic odorless. X marks the spot, and hot things happen next. Slippery, brimming inner places. Oils surefire for increasing suppleness and desire, and damn the consequences, baby, they're on your turf now. We'll do one more weed. Thank you. Dandelion. There's an epigraph from this. I think this originally appeared in the Northwest, actually. This is from Edward Fitzgerald's translation of Omar Khayyam. It just says, "One thing is certain and the rest is lies. The flower that once is blown forever dies." This is Dandelion. I'll tell you, friend, time flies. And all the heavy things grow very light and fade like light, part particle, part wave, all fractional to white, expanding out of density, trading its vividness for breadth, something as singular as what you wish for most, with one good breath unlatches from you, separates, multi-directional, a mass accumulating in reverse, dispersed.
Such structures, feathered, flexed to seek what suits them, fugitive in the pursuit of permanence, are light because they're bloodless. Flight requires us to be more air than body. Even voices weigh too much to carry. That is why they fade. And so we will, and yet will not entirely forget. What's flown from us is somewhere, still intent on germinating. Let it go. The wind can bear it. See an hour in eternity and lighten up. It's later than you think, babe. Tempest fugit. You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? Just put your lips together and blow. I don't usually read this one because it's a little long, but maybe that'll just bring us to the natural conclusion of things. This was actually one of the hardest ones to write for me. It's because it's really, as it turns out, apples are really complicated, but I thought I'd give it a shot. Anyway, this is apple. 1. Where do desire and fulfillment meet? It's here. The place where one bite makes you need the next. Sweet, sweet, desire's prototype. Sweet meaning perfect, meaning ideal. It's a feedback loop. Look, lick the sugar from my lips. See for yourself if it's satiety or lust for more, or both. A branching, each leaf tip light bathed in glaucous, breaching, and at last, taste it, or at least are so lost in the dream of it we never detect the molecule of cyanide at the center of the thing. This is forever, bitter in a cannibal seed, eternal return with a twist. 2. Old sport, things always ramify in ways we don't foresee. We do fall far from the tree. We always are falling. And it's predictably hard to predict what might spring up where something falls. And what you're like and what you are not the same thing. Bring it. Every secret plays out in us ultimately. Name names. Northern Spy, Rome Beauty, Jazz, Freedom, Wine Sap, none such surprise. Or else you might enumerate the permutations otherwise. Your face, it's so expressive. Your capacity for bliss, no more to hide, skin blushed or bloomed, delicious. Well, for God's sake, what's meant by having at our core such genius for desiring more, becoming more? You will surprise me every time. A bitterness sometimes, a feral edge, a bland languor, and then again the thrill of something you've never seen before, tasted before. Delectable stranger, please, lay me bare. I will be anyone for you. I will. 3. Windfall. Everything turns on dissonance, on incongruity. The air is still warm, but there's a sudden sharpness in it. Listen, scattering dactyls, last cicada chatter. Everything goes to ground. Restive fruits batter the hardening earth. The aching limbs all loosen their hold, hoarding what energy they can. Now frost unfurls its fiddleheads, a form of tropical pastiche embossed on each inch of the orchard in a film of ice playing dull speed, unspooling from a documentary reel on ancient ferns. They crawl the grass as if alive. They etch and burn, ruthless recapture specialists who move as if they know this never lasts, but must construct their minuscule domain regardless. Quickly, never the same way twice. Darling, we never learn. Nobody learns. But even decay is temporary, an old prelude. Collapse makes pace, batten and wane. 4. Now we must know each other. What's the value of forbiddenness unless it's understanding? We are far too complicated ever to be one thing, and it's a mess sometimes, a wilderness that shuts us out just when it's getting good. But we're a force of nature, dear. The verger is always on the verge of wilderness, garden to wood to garden, and it's clear we are both our own demiurge and our own exile. What begins here ends here, and our origins an orchard, of course. It's early fall, and I'm all yours. And there's a tree you won't sit under, baby doll, with anyone else but me. Domestication's no small thing. It takes all of your concentration. Can you concentrate one trait from all the noise, the infinite or finite alphabet that engineers the world? Bet on it. Infinitely wild, we can be trained in the expression of a singular quality, countenances of soul that obviate or circumscribe such things as we deem coarse, unseemly. Someone cribs a page or two from one of Swedenborg's books, and look, the lowly elevates to mystic liquors or devolves to worm fodder, depending on intention. Now we taste what we have grown here, and now we see how something might be shapely but insipid, how a thing might be all blight and fire scab, and yet might yield a depth you'd never guess at, never have believed it was possible. We seek consistency, and yet are cloyed by it, seek novelty, and yet grow lost and long for home. I'll do one more and then we'll wrap it up because it's really hot in here. You guys have been so patient. This is a chaparral plant that is common in the Bay Area. I don't think it grows up here, but it's called greasewood or chemise, and it's got this cool party trick that is setting itself on fire in heat waves. It's I mean, who can keep their hands off that? Anyway, so I'll close out with that because it's hot. This is chemise. There is no wind. The chaparral has gone to decadence, and the sun, at such a height, leaves the sky desiccated, bleached ash white, concentrated brightness, an indrawn gathering of the light, as if the whole world were enclosed within a camera obscura, an inverted replica universe sinisured through a pinhole. Even the soil is aching from the heat. A cracking bed of serpentine where few species contrive to grow, and those that do sustain themselves on nothing but complete famine and drought. More than sustain, they flout the whole system, responding to the mean conditions of the kind of libertine excess, oiling themselves elaborately, without a care for consequence, inviting fire, anointing their dry leaves with aromatic resins just to inspire a dramatic response, spontaneous combustion. Dire repercussions, but they follow that too, developing at once two kinds of seed. One sprouts in wet soil, one is only freed if the achene is scorched. This habitat requires certain adaptations, and rather than being meager in return for meagerness, why not agree to burn? Say there is nothing you cannot withstand. Thank you.